Okay, good morning. Okay, we're going to start. I think this is an important thing to start with. Start doing this for the safety of Jewish people everywhere, and to end this exile and to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu and bring the redemption. Let's give a little tzedakah, a little charity, because tzedakah mekareves es hagula, it hastens the redemption. Okay, we are going to continue in our mimer on Ahavas Yisroel. Loving fellow Jew, page 3 in the booklet, which is really page Chaf Tes. If you have trouble with the Hebrew numbering, it's 56. It's the one after 56. There's a cat that wants to join, apparently. Okay. So, let's jump right into this. So, page number 3, line number 2. It's the beginning of a new section. Ve'af al pi. Sheniz bo'er hetev, tuv tam v'das lemitzvah zu. Now, although we explained very well the spiritual backbone of this mitzvah, I'm kind of paraphrasing. Adayin yesh b'ze oid tam nifla ba'oitzem ha'toive sheha'adam oise loy u'lechol ha'olam b'kim mitzvah zu asezu. There's an additional wondrous, intensely good, wondrous reason in the powerful goodness that a person does for himself and for the entire universe with fulfilling this mitzvah. And the opposite is true when one transgresses this, nullifies this mitzvah, and transgresses the negative commandment of the Torah that you should not hate your fellow in your heart. So there's an additional thing going for this mitzvah, besides for the fact that the true reality is that all Jews are interconnected and they're all one solidified unity in their true inner reality, and it's just the bodies that make us feel separate, and we have to tap into that. We could tap into that in order to perform this mitzvah of Ahavas Yisroel properly, and realize that we're all one, and you are part of me and I'm part of you. There's something else going on in this mitzvah that, therefore, because of this mitzvah, it creates an incredibly indescribable goodness for oneself and the entire universe, and the opposite is true when one doesn't do this mitzvah. So let's see. V'hainu al pi biur maimer Hillel haniz kaleel. So to understand this, we have to analyze the statement of Hillel, which we mentioned at the beginning of the mimer. She'enoi muvan. Hillel's entire statement is not understood. Why did Hillel explain this mitzvah in the negative? It didn't say it in the positive aspect. Hanigla, of the simple reading of the pasuk of the verse, which tells us the positive aspect of it. Make the tigim unkelis. Let's go. We mentioned it yesterday, but let's say it again quickly. There's a guy. He comes to Shammai, and he says, "Hopefully I'm getting the story right. I looked it up to make sure I got it right, but hopefully I remember since then." There's a non-Jew who came to Shammai, the great sage Shammai, and he said, "Convert me on condition that you teach me the entire Torah on one foot." And Shammai chased him away. He came to Hillel and he said, "Convert me on condition that you teach me the entire Torah on one foot." So Hillel checked his sincerity. He saw that he was a fitting candidate, and the Gemara says in a short, but I'm sure it was a bit of a process. But it just says he converted him, became a Jew. So afterwards, he says, "Teach me the entire Torah." So he says to him, "What is hateful to you, don't do to others. This is the entire Torah, the rest is commentary, go learn." So the Tzemach Tzedek is asking here, why does Hillel say this in such a negative fashion? What you don't like, what's hateful to you, madasoni Allah, what's hateful to you, lachaverach lo savi, to your friend, don't do. Why didn't you just say in the positive? Pasuk says, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha." Love your fellow as yourself, in the positive sense. Okay, it's not Aramaic, and Hillel said in Aramaic. Okay, so we have a translation of the sage Onkelos, his translation of the Torah into Aramaic, and he could have said the same words. You should love your fellow like yourself. Why did Hillel say it in this backwards fashion, this negative fashion? It's a good question. It's a very good question. Said this something fascinating. We're on line number 7, first word. V'ha'inyan, the idea is ki devaro ve'ele hu pirush mitzvas ve'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha be'inyan amok. Hillel saying this mitzvah in the negative wording is actually highlighting a very deep concept embedded within the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisroel, of loving a fellow Jew. Meaning he could have said, you should love your fellow like yourself. This is the entire Torah, the rest is commentary. It's true. But he would have been missing a core detail, a very important factor of the mitzvah that is only emphasized by saying it in the negative. Very interesting. How so? Dahainu, this is. The reality is, for most of us, almost all of us, we have faults. But we have this weird thing inside of us that Hashem created that we don't notice our faults. Meaning, even if we know that we have faults and we know that they are faults, we don't care. It doesn't bother us, right? If there's something about me that's not a positive thing, even if I'm aware of it, I'm conscious of it, it doesn't bother me. I'm okay. I feel fine. So I'll say in the same Chassidus words, that just like a person doesn't see their own faults, it doesn't mean that they don't know about the fault, meaning if I were to know about my fault, that would bother me. No. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know about it. Adrab, on the contrary, I know and I can see my own faults and understand the depth of their lowliness more than others can. I can see my own faults more than others can. Why? Because other people, they just see me on the outside, superficially, externally. They see what their eyes see. That's it, done. I know what's going on in my heart. What you see as bad, I see it even worse. So what does it mean I don't see my own faults? Line number 10, middle of the line. Rather, what this means is, what does it mean that a person doesn't see their own faults? They can see their own faults and know about them very well. Rather, what this means is that the fault, the problem, the negativity is a non-issue for me. I don't react from it. It doesn't bother me. It's as if I don't see it at all. So me not seeing my own faults, my own negativity, doesn't mean that I can't see it. I just don't notice. I'm so into myself, I don't notice. No, I could notice. I can notice very well, and I can understand very well how bad it is. But I don't care. It's okay. I'm very comfortable living like this. Why? Why doesn't it bother me? If I have a problem inside of me, if I have a negative character trait, and I'm very well aware of it, why doesn't it bother me? Why don't I go, oh, this is so terrible, I need to fix this. Ugh, gross. Why not? Why am I comfortable with it? And it is. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, line number 11. Kimi pnei ha'ava ha'gedoyla asher hu oyev me'odes atzmoi al kol peshav sheyedei b'daitoi techase ha'ava b'vchinas makif shelo yumshach min ha'yedil lidei hispilus b'midois v'lochen ein toifsim mokim klalis povzeh. Said the Tzemach Tzedek something very, very important, very fascinating. Why don't I, why don't they notice my faults? Sometimes it can happen like that I don't even notice. But why don't I notice, and how much more so? Even if I do notice, why doesn't it bother me? Because I have such an intense self-love. I love myself and I care about myself so much. It's a pasuk. On all faults, love covers. Love covers and conceals all faults. I'm talking about myself. If I have a problem, even if I know it's bad, because I love myself so much, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't allow for this knowledge to translate into an emotional response that I should really emotionally bother me that I have this problem. Therefore, they don't take the problem doesn't take up any space, and I don't react. I don't care. It doesn't bother. This is what it means that a person doesn't see their own fault. Because this fault is embedded and it is nullified within this intense love that covers over all the faults. Now, there's something very fascinating about this, about the mechanics of how this works. So, I have a fault, a problem. I may not notice it. Why? Because I love myself so much, I just simply don't notice. Even if I do notice it and I'm aware of it, because of my intense self-love, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'm fine. I'm fine living in the mud. Yeah? Now, the fascinating mechanics of this is the next words. The end of line 14. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, this is all in regards to oneself. What happens when somebody else notices your fault and they point it out, or you see that they can tell that you have a fault? You get very upset. You get very upset. What happened? You were loving yourself all fine and good and dandy till now. You didn't care about the problem. So nobody came in and made your problem worse. Now it's harder to deal with. Now it bothers you. No. All they did was they simply said, hey, you know you're really selfish? Or v'chadayim, anything like this, right? When they pointed out, they noticed it gets you very upset. Why? Even though you know yourself, it's true what the person's saying. They notice your fault. I know I have a fault. I know it's true. So what's the problem? What's he getting upset about? Is it that he's getting upset that, hey, let's use a selfish analogy. Hey, you're really selfish. And I'm getting upset. Why am I upset? Not because I'm not that as selfish as you think I am. You're imagining me to be more selfish than I really am. No, that's not the case, says the Tzemach Tzedek, because you know he's not lying. He's saying the truth. You know how selfish you are. You know how of an angry person you are. Whatever it is, he's not telling you new information. He's telling you the truth. So what's the problem? Basically, what we're getting at is when somebody else points out this problem, it's making the problem into something. Until now, the love covered it over, your self-love covered it over, and it was a non-issue. It was as if it wasn't there, even if you know about it. It has no substance to it. It's not real, so to speak. Once somebody points it out, now this problem has become solidified. Yeah, you knew about it the whole time, but now it's something to contend with. Now it's something to contend with. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have such a problem existing within yourself. Let's say in the Tzemach Tzedek's words. End of line 17. One second. That's regarding when somebody else knows about it. But when you know about it, your love covers it over. And he's going to get upset at his friend, at the other person who exposed this fault from its concealments, from the covering, the safety of the love that was covering it over. It wasn't visible. Now, in your friend's perspective and his knowledge, he sees it as something. Now it's a thing. Based on this, we can see the incredible depth in the words of Hillel. When he said, what is hateful to you, don't do to others. Hear this. Line number 20. You hear this? What is hateful to you, meaning what you don't like, that when you have a fault that you don't care about, it doesn't bother you because you love yourself so much. And it's hateful to you when somebody comes and points it out and they expose it and they notice it. Don't do the same thing to others. That you shouldn't notice their faults. When somebody else has a fault and they have a problem and negativity, your job as a Jew, the Mitzvah of Yisroel, the way Hillel explains it, is that you shouldn't notice that they have a problem. Why? How? Because you love them so much, so intensely, that the love covers over all faults. Goes further to line number 21. This is regarding social matters. You shouldn't notice that they're crooked, that they're nasty, that they're angry, that they're selfish. You don't notice. Whether regarding religious issues, the way their connection with Hashem, the way they study Torah, the way they perform mitzvahs, you don't notice. It simply doesn't bother. Meaning, again, let's translate it back to the way we were translating it the whole time. And it's not simply that you don't notice. Even if you do notice, you're aware of it, but it doesn't bother you. Yes, I'm aware that this person, isn't so charitable. They're not so giving. But he's such a good person. I love him so much. I don't care. Liyesh v'davar ma. Eloyi ha'av shelcha l'gdoy l'kokach ad shetchas kol ha'pshoim v'letaniach oisam min ha'yediyah lo v'lehispilus b'midos. So, what's hateful to you that you don't like when people notice and point out your fault, so to you, you shouldn't point out somebody else's fault. You shouldn't notice the problem of somebody else's fault because of the intense, your love for them is so intense to the extent that it covers over all the problems and it doesn't allow them to come from your knowledge to react in your heart. ותשוקה נפלאה לחבר מצד המשוחר רבה ועצומה שמעצמת נפש שיש לאלוהיו כל אשר יעשה לרעהו היפוך אהבוסו ליהיו תופסים מקום כלל ובטלים נגד העבירה במים רבים ליוכלו חולו. Just like when somebody has an incredible desire to connect to somebody and a will and a love for a person, there's a particular person you're obsessed with, no matter what they do, it's all kosher, it's all good. It doesn't bother me. When you're obsessed with somebody so much, everything they do, no matter how bad it is, it's all great. So too, your love for another Yid, another Jew, should be so great, so intense, that you simply don't care if they're not up to par, so to speak. Not that you don't care about them, therefore nothing they do matters. No, you care very much about them. You care for their well-being, physically and spiritually. But it doesn't bother you personally. You don't react negatively and say, oh, how could you? No, not how could you? I love you. Okay, we'll pause here, and we'll see tomorrow, God willing, how this translates into the whole rest of the Torah. As Hillel had told this convert, what is hateful to you, don't do to others. This is the entire Torah. How is this the entire Torah? Okay, fine. Have a great day.